One thing that I have definitely noticed since last year until now is the constant discussions, analysis, and video essays about pop artist brands. Probably because of how we're in recession and in late stage capitalism, that everything has to be analyzed under the profitability of itself, even if it's art. Do your artists have signature colors or a signature hairstyle? Do they have a distinguishable sound? Or a unique story to sell and stand out? On one hand, I find this approach low-key problematic because it encourages the commercialization of art. But on the other hand, as someone working in marketing and communication, I also find it amusing to see how brands and images are thoroughly and intentionally curated to appeal to the audience. And I also don't necessarily see building a brand equals to curating a fake image. All brands were somewhat coming from the authentic traits of the artists, and then when those traits brought in some attraction from the public, it just got capitalized and hyperbolized by the agencies. For example, Sabrina Carpenter's hyper-femininity and hypersexuality image were not her brand at all back in her first 4 albums, or even her Email I Can't Send era. But then when she slowly rose out of Nugudom with the sexual innuendos in the Nonsense's outro, and the bimbo aesthetics in Feather, she and her team fully embraced this brand in the Short and Sweet era and this latest album of Man's Best Friend. Even she herself admitted that she's not that horny, and just medium horny.
From a lot of people like, wow, like she's just like the horniest girl alive, because sometimes in my songs I say some crazy things on stage. But I'm actually a very normal amount of horny, and also just, a lot of it is because I'm able to kind of have fun and play, and when I'm doing these live shows, it's just a matter of not taking things too seriously. And
so it's very interesting to see how a public persona and brand of an artist is curated. But what is a brand? And how can we identify it? What criterias are there to analyze? A lot of YouTubers mentioned many elements to make an artist's brand. We have the hair, the makeup, the fashion, the colors, the lyrics, and so on. But I'd like to group them into 3 main components that make a brand. Number 1 is the visual identity, which is everything related to what we see with our eyes. It's the concept photo, the fashion style, the logos, the colors, the choreography. The second one is the sonic identity. Does your group have a signature sound? Do they popularize a particular genre? Throughout the videos, there will be people saying, "Why would you want a group to have the same sound forever?" No, a sonic identity is not just about genre. It's also about vocal delivery, writing style, or a signature catchphrase. For example, you can always expect a good vocal layer and harmony from Ariana Grande, or a catchy bridge from Taylor Swift. The final one is the message or lyrical identity. What type of stories do your group often tell in the lyrics? What messages do they stand behind and try to deliver? Is it the lore? With all those components in mind, I just want to say that they are not necessarily in a binary where the groups have or do not have it. Sometimes the groups do show it, but they just don't do it consistently, or execute it in a weak way. Thus, I will have to use 2 types of chart this time. First is the Venn diagram to categorize the girl groups based on how strong and comprehensive their brands are. Can they check all 3 boxes, or just 2 or 1, or even none? The second is our normal tier list ranking, where we see how great the brand was executed. The first tier is great. These girl groups didn't just nail 3 out of 3, but their brands strongly stand out so damn uniquely in the industry with top-tier execution and influence. The second tier is good, as in the brands also know what they're doing and have a cohesive identity, but just lacks a little bit of influence to be in the first tiers. The third tier is, okay, these girls have a solid identity, but aren't that unique and different artistically? The fourth tier is mid. They may slay here and there, but overall, so inconsistent to navigate who they are. The fifth tier is identity crisis, which everyone can guess. They have no sonic, visual, or lyrical identity. So let's get into it. Before we go on, another reminder is that I will only talk about artistic brand, not personal brand. I will only judge based on their art pieces and not their personality or personal life.
Just me, idol.
First up, we got Idol. They obviously don't have a visual identity, right? Since their debut, they switched from concept to concept since Cube didn't bother to do anything, so the girls had to jump in and reinvent their own images multiple times to adapt and survive. Some comebacks do really great visual concepts and choreos like Nude or Hwaya, but some were very sloppy like Latata or Klaxon. The same goes with their sonic identity. They also changed their sound multiple times between different genres and vocal formulas. From Moonbottom to hip-hop to rock, their songs are too inconsistent to establish for them a signature sound. But I would say that their streak from Tomboy, Nude, to Queen Card's Super Lady do have a formula, though. For example, Soyeon's Konglish lyrics, empty choruses, bridge extinction, and a booming outro. But then with Klaxon and the current good things, they change things once again. Idol never really has a really consistently strong visual or sonic identity, but what they are really good at, I would say, is their women empowerment messages, also known as lyrical identity. Before the hiatus, the theme was not really clear, but it was still very much there. Latata and Señorita embraced women's sexuality. Uh-Oh tackles women being catcalled, or Oh My God was literally about lesbian sex. But then after Sujin left, they even dived deeper into the theme with gender nonconformity in Tomboy, female sexualization in Nude or body image in Queen Card. Or even in their latest comeback, Girlfriend explores sisterhood after breaking up with their boyfriends. Even though there are valid criticisms towards their feminism, I and many women still appreciated their influence to execute such a message in the misogynistic hell of a country that is South Korea. Overall, they nailed it only 1 out of 3. But at least their female empowering message is executed very consistently. They are in the 3rd tier.
Let me tell you about the seraphim.
People often jump the gun and say, Les Seraphim has no identity, without analyzing what the actual problem is or giving constructive criticisms. Les Seraphim has a visual identity, a really strong one, in fact. Apart from Artemis, they are the only group who fully embraces the Christianity and angel aesthetics in K-pop. Their name was literally an anagram of seraphim in the Bible. They had Eve in one of their songs. They had wings in multiple concepts. They even filmed in a fake church, which is a problem that we will discuss in another time. Combining that with the runway concept and sporty chic fashion, they have managed to develop a niche image for themselves. One bonus point I would say is their logo and how consistently it was adapted throughout each comeback. They are also very strong with their lyrics as well. It was very rare for a K-pop group to execute a long-term project that is a trilogy, but Les Seraphim has managed to finish twice already. Each trilogy has its own interpretation of their self-love and perseverance message. In the first one, they were fearless, anti-fragile, and ready to do the unforgiven. But in the second one, they show multifacets on how to be persevere. Yes, they might make things look easy, but they are also in pain. They may act like an angel, but also be very crazy. And being persevere is not necessarily about rising up all the time. Sometimes you gotta burn everything down and start over when the pressure are too hot. They are really strong in this aspect. I guess what people were coming from is their sounds, as they don't have a really strong sonic identity. I don't agree with the criticisms that they just jump on any trend that was relevant at the moment, but there are some truths that their sounds are not consistently unique enough. In the first trilogy, if I was reaching, there could be somewhat consistency with the dance pop, funk elements, with a lot of catchy refrains. But then the second trilogy kind of went all over the place with R&B, electropop, or house with a predictable and non-distinguishable approach that really set them apart. As I said before, the jump between genres is not the problem. It is the execution that doesn't show a really strong Les Seraphim sound. I really wish that they could expand their sounds from their intros, as they are often the best parts of the era that everyone is looking for the most. The runway production that leads to the climax at the end, the multi-language lyrical fusion, the reading vocal delivery, it just screams Les Seraphim to me until the title tracks and EP sonically stray away a bit from it. And that is the thing they can work on to fill the final component out of the 3. They are in the 2nd tier.
말을 걸어주는 나의 aespa.
aespa is a weird case, specifically because of their lyrical identity. There is, of course, no debate about whether they have a sonic and visual brand, right? Because the answer is always
Yes!
they are well known for their futuristic concept and Kwangya lore. Even after Lee Soo-man left and they ditched the SMCU, their visual essence is still very sharp and aespa-coded that make them uniquely stand out in the industry. The same goes with their music. They are pretty consistent with hyperpop, trap, electropop, very sharp instruments with strong vocal delivery. Both of these elements complemented each other and made them a very high-concept group in K-pop. People listen and watch them for these things. But are they really reading their lyrics or their messages? Before the Hybe versus SM drama, their lyrics were very lore-heavy to accompany the Kwangya world. I found it kind of cringy at first, but at least it was very unique to them. But then after drama, it became more vague and accessible to the general public. There were, of course, some here and there mentions of the real world and my world, and the lyrics in the title tracks did continue the lore a bit like, after Naivas coming to the real world, aespa members are converged with the alternate version of themselves in the parallel universe in Supernova, which also alluded into the upcoming event of Armageddon, that literally showed the collision of two worlds. But overall, you can see that the lyrics have become less Kwangya-related and more hesitant to use the lore-specific words such as Black Mamba or Naivas, like they used to, especially in Whiplash or Dirty Work, which most people's takeaway is them being badassery. Do I think it made them slightly less aespa-core?
Yes!
But do I also think it didn't detach itself completely to serve the lore-invested fans?
Yes!
The fans who love analyzing lore can still appreciate and kinda pick up details, but I just think the visuals carry the lore more than the lyrics. Still, I think they achieved 3 out of 3 branding components, with lyrical components being a little bit inconsistent, but that doesn't stop them from being the first tier. ITZY had everything in their prime, honestly. Visually, they were the perfect balance between Blackpink's girl crush and Twice's cuteness to develop a teen crush for themselves. So colorful, so vibrant, so energetic. They had a strong choreography with dynamic dance breaks and then ending with the iconic crown poses. And their music reflects that youthfulness as well. Electro and dance pop with leading pre-chorus, catchy repetitive hooks in the chorus, a fast-reading rap section in the second verse, and energetic dance break at the end. Even criticized for being superficial, the self-love lyrics were also a core part of their identity. This brand was so strong that even though many people were disappointed with Sneakers, the song still performed really well, especially in South Korea. Sneakers had more of a marketing and communication problem rather than a branding problem. Sneakers were still very on brand with ITZY and had most of the following components. The one that actually had problems with branding is the one after that, which is Cheshire, that strayed always from most of their core identity. I know that Midsies hate and are so tired of the downfall of ITZY content already, so I will just summarize it down. To have brand is to be somewhat consistently evolving with it, but ITZY have switched up too abruptly so many times that the general public has failed to navigate who they are, and even the fans are slowly drifting off. From Dalla Dalla to Icy and Wannabe, there was momentum built with growth and development from a core identity. But the transition from Sneakers to Cheshire to Boy Like You to Cake to Untouchable and so on was strangely off, musically and visually. Most of these later title tracks vanished at their dance break, even though they are a strong dance group. Their music structure started losing the signature sound that I mentioned before. At least what they somewhat retained is the theme of self-love and self-confidence. You can still see it in songs like Cake, Untouchable, Born to Be, and even evolve it with the support and empowerment of others like Girls Will Be Girls or Imaginary Friends. In conclusion, ITZY started off as the whole package with 3 out of 3, but ended up with 1 out of 3. Although they are having an identity crisis, I don't think they deserve to be in the bottom because of how great their early brand was. I would like to still call them New Jeans because the works of them that I'll be analyzing are still under their era as New Jeans and not NJZ or whatever follows it. There is no other group that is more conceptually influential than New Jeans in the 4th generation, so I'll just say it. They just didn't achieve all 3 components. They slayed it. Ever since Attention, that refreshing sound of dance pop, R&B, UK garage, and drum and bass just revolutionized K-pop completely that, till this day, we are still complaining of how many groups try to recycle the sound. Even if they hopped on other genres such as New Jack Swing and Supernatural, or Miami Bass and House Sweet. The essence of New Jeans is still there. It's that sweet voice and rhythmic melody being put in such a dynamic instrumental. Their visual concepts are also the same in the industry. Everyone wants to reheat their nachos of Y2K aesthetic and Acubuy fashion. And not only that, they have a cohesive visual brand, for example, the use of bunnies images in their clothing, album cover, and light stick for their fandoms. Their youthfulness and cuteness is also shown in their collaborations with brands and artists like the Powerpuff Girls and Takashi Murakami. This is what I've been trying to say. This is how you can evolve and diversify your brand without losing its essence. Their lyrical identity is also consistent. Very girlhood-coded, very young love, very relatable teen romance. Just like their ages, the personas shown in their songs are also very inexperienced, yet also very passionate in love. You can't blame them for being curious young girls. This narrative is very effective because it strengthens their relatability to their fans who are also their peers. Overall, 3 for 3, they are the strongest branded girl group so far in this list and deserve the first tier. Alongside ITZY and LE SSERAFIM, IVE is also a self-love and self-confidence group in terms of their message, but they didn't exactly start with it. Their first three singles are more about love, maybe with a little hint of narcissism, but ever since I Am, they really embrace this identity throughout each comeback. They are confident to be fierce and confident to be themselves regardless of hatred, but also confident to be vulnerable and to be there to support each other. I think Ive's approach is more relatable than Le Seraphim and also has more depth than ITZY, at least towards a younger audience, proven by how big the amount of South Korean children looking up to them. In terms of sonic identity, I think it's a bit weaker, but definitely there if you get what I mean. If I could describe their sound with one word, I would say a very posh sound. Not necessarily defined by certain formulas or genres, IVE's sound is more defined by the ethereal melodies, elegant vocal, simplistic production. It was not as strong as aespa or New Jeans, but they introduced a foundation, especially with 11, Love Dive, and Afterlike in their debut years. Then they hit their peak of sonic identity with I Am in the entire album IVE. That entire album is the clearest summary of Ive's sound for me, and I still can't believe they haven't made a second full album yet. But after that, they either experiment with their sounds a bit, but unfortunately some are a bit directionless, like in Batty or XOXZ, or they played it safe by showcasing more of their vulnerable side beneath the glam image with Either Way, Off the Record, or Rebel Heart. These songs are great lyrically, but unfortunately fail to evolve their soundscape or bring something new to the table in terms of production like their previous three singles. I think their best work that showed us a glimpse of greatness that they could tune into is I've Switch with Heya, Excendio, and other dance pop tracks. Overall, while currently having some hiccups, I've still had recognizable sound at least. Similar to their sonic identity, I think that their visuals are there but also not as strong. They are glam, posh, and elegant, and then evolve it with more chic, mysterious, fairy-like elements. But in this current state of K-pop, where those elements are very popular and dominated by other girl groups, they weren't unique or consistent enough to really stand out, if you know what I mean. Still 3 for 3 though, but I don't think the brand was strong enough to compete with groups in the first tier. Right off the bat, NMIX is one of the groups with the clearest sonic identity in K-pop. SM's groups may be the one who started doing experimentals and adding tempo switches up in their songs, but I think the one who is really consistent with it and owning it to their identity is NMIX with their mix pop sound. I was a little bit worried in 2023 when they did some normal music formula since their mix pop sound was criticized in 2022, but thank God, they really claim their identity with the Iron 3 Oxide 4 trilogy. However, in terms of visuals, I don't think they go all the way the same. If there's any glimpse of uniqueness, I would say those surreal and very weird core sets and colorful elements. Or with the trilogy, the colors of blue and gray are very consistent, and the album cover designs are really unique. Overall, the greatness was inconsistent despite them being a lore-heavy and conceptual group. Similar to aespa, their lyrics are also vague and need to be paired with the visual concepts to understand the lore. Or otherwise, the general public or even the fans would have literally no idea what they are singing about. But at least aespa has more recognizable lyrics and defined tone, whereas NMIX is often more obscure. They achieved a medium 2 out of 3 and ranked 3rd tier. Kepler is the definition of identity crisis since birth. Although the cosmic and star concept is done by girl groups such as Luna or Cosmic Girls, I still think there's a room for Kepler to thrive in, especially as they came from a survival show called Girl Planet 999 and having a star as their name. They did sprinkle a little bit of visual element here and there in their debut or in their last OT9 comeback, but overall, I have no idea what Kepler is about. Especially with their first comeback, Up, which was significant to solidify a brand for them, did nothing to follow up Wadada. The same goes with their following releases. All of their 3 components are so normie and inconsistent. You can literally see they fade away with each comeback because people fail to navigate who they are to support. They are saturated into the K-pop market. I'm not saying the music is bad. I love some of their songs, especially their last OT9 full album, but it's not great branding or having a strong identity. Sorry, but they are in the bottom tier with no component achieved.
Stacy girls, it's going down.
Despite being from a small company, Stacy has a great brand right from the beginning. Their cute and colorful teen crush is reminiscent of Twice, but still so fresh and unique to them. Their synth pop, dance pop, and bubblegum pop also add up to this brand. Even with their worst title track like Teddy Bear, the Disney Channel approach does not stray away from the audience that their brand intends to target. That's why, similar to sneakers, despite being criticized for being bad and immature, it was not off-brand to destroy the success. Their choruses are catchy as hell, and the Stacy Girls, It's Going Down are their signature earworm catchphrase. Lyrically, they have the same relatable approach as New Jeans that depicts teenage girls' navigation towards young love and high school crush. They have some hiccups recently on how to evolve it, but overall they nailed it 3 out of 3. But I don't think they are as influential and revolutionary enough to be in the first tier.
Blackpink in your area.
Let's move on to the third-gen territory. Blackpink is a perfect example of how a good brand can save a poorly executed music and concept. As music listeners, we all dislike the uninspiring formula of YG and Teddy and how they keep recycling the same concept in music. But as the general public, we all tune in to each of their comeback whether we like them or hate them, because of how strong their brand is. First is the music. We're all tired from Jisoo and Rosé's pre-chorus, empty chorus, Lisa and Jennie's rap, and a booming outro. The same goes to their lyrics, very generic 2010s girl boss feminism, some catchy onomatopoeias, and sometimes love songs. But it was signature to them, and brought them success because it serves the right audience. You and I, the general public might dislike it, but the YG lovers love this formula no matter how tiring that sound is. And in fact, in their early days, the formula wasn't that bad, and Teddy still had some sparks within him to make it interesting. It's just as time passed by, and he and Blackpink didn't have much chance to evolve it properly due to YG's poor management. But at the end of the day, they still dominate the soundscape in K-pop despite many attempts to copy them. Even when K-pop is leaning more towards this cuter and softer tone in the fourth gen, their commitment to the sound sets them apart, regardless of the quality. In terms of visual brands, Blackpink even has more up their sleeves. It can be their signature black and pink color, the luxury fashion brands that each member be the ambassador of, the huge set they use for their MV and badass outfits for the girl crush concept. I do think that while 21 initiated the girl crush concept, Blackpink and added in their own charms of luxury and femininity. As a music group, you can criticize them in many things, but as a brand, it's undeniable that they are a giant in the music industry with 3 out of 3 excellence.
I fancy you. I fancy you. Fancy you.
Let's be real. Twice walked so Stacy could run. That cutesy and bubbly visuals? Twice owned it and got it right at their debut with an insane run from 2016 to 2018. When you thought of a cute group, Twice was the first to come to mind. Even when they mature it in 2019 and diversify it, the Twice core is still visible. They can be cute, but also elegant, sexy, and Y2K. A lot of people said that they have passed their prime, but I would say that the current Twice is the peak. Strategy and This Is For is a perfect example of a concept evolution. The same goes with their sonic brand. Twice has experimented a lot of sound and genres, but that touch of bubblegum pop, dance pop, synth pop with a little touch of JYP's signature disco. And they have so many consistent albums to back this up. Narratively, Twice also explored curious young love, a bit childish at first, but through time, they grew with the audience and explored the theme of love in a more diverse lens than just romantic, such as the love of companionship, womanhood, or lesbianism, even in English songs. All of those things combined have made Twice a greatest example of a brand evolution without losing your personal touch. Don't get me wrong, they did have some hiccups along the way, but it didn't go too far to destroy their core completely.
Red velvet.
Last but not least of the big 3, we got Red Velvet. A lot of those dual concepts nowadays, but none has come close to the Red and Velvet concepts of them. Both concepts were executed so well with distinct details, lores, colors, and fashion. but both feel authentic and unique to Red Velvet because it brings a signature sense of horror, undertone, bold experimentation, and quirkiness. It extends to their sound also. You can love the exquisite R&B sound of the Velvet concept, or dance to the bold, fun, and dynamic Red sound. I think both components were shown clearest in their first two full albums, with expected names of the Red and Perfect Velvet. Both feels so contrast, yet so boldly Red Velvet. Later on, the line was blurred a bit as two concepts and sounds kinda merged into each other. But it feels like an evolution, rather than detachment. No matter what song that they are on, Red Velvet always brings their own style that is Polish production, exceptional harmony, and such a royal melody, if that makes sense. Like, they always sound so exquisite, especially in the chorus. In terms of lyrics, it was the weakest component, but still very consistent. They explore love, but in a more mature and eccentric way than previous groups. It is not young love, but more so under the theme of unhealthy and obsessive style that matches their quirky and crazy brand. Red Velvet is one of those groups that I would say, while not having a large fan base, they have a cult one because of how standout and consistent their brand and concept was. Not all of their comebacks are at the best quality, but all of them never feel off-brand to them. Am I biased to put all the big three at the first tier? Now let's go to the current timeline with the 5th gen, starting with iLit. I feel like within the 5th gen, iLit is one of those groups with the consistent brands. You will always know what to expect when listening to them. Visually, it's the cute, soft girl aesthetics, coquette fashion, and dreamcore and glitchcore concept. I understand a little bit where people are coming from when saying they can be compared to New Jeans. But at this point, after 3 comebacks, you have to give iLit the credits of being consistent and integral with their brand. Sonically, it's those super short songs with instantly catchy chorus with repetitive words that some people are even so tired by now. And all of their EPs are so sonically cohesive with it too. This is also what differs them from New Jeans. New Jeans' chorus can often be more substantial. Lyrically, similar to other teen groups, they are also portraying an innocent love crush from the point of view of a young girl. Not that special, but still very effective and cohesive. Overall, 3 out of 3, but I feel like they are still playing it safe and walking the road that has been paved by others before, than truly doing something revolutionary to be in the first tier. Next we have Kiss of Life. I already know the booings in the comments towards me because of why I still give them a platform by reviewing their artistry while condemning their racist behaviors. This is a dilemma that I am still working on myself as I believe both of these things can coexist. My criticism towards their art doesn't erase my side-eyeing for their problematic scandals. In fact, in my album review, I pointed out that it's ironic and hypocritical of them to make such good Black-inspired music while mocking Black people. However, I also understand that reviewing and listening to their music can benefit them financially. I did feel guilty when listening to the songs. That's why I didn't often listen to them even a quarter as much as before that live stream. I guess that I gave them a chance to listen because they are the first and only group to be successfully canceled for their racist behavior. Their sales, followings, and streams dropped rapidly. Thus, my consciousness feels a little bit less guilty because I know one stream cannot save their downfall. It's a very complicated situation, so if you have any more in-depth knowledge about this whole separating the art from the artist conversation, please let me know. But let's get back to the branding of Kiss of Life. I think their strongest component is definitely the sonic brand. Apart from Red Velvet, I cannot think of another group that can do R&B as good as them. It's that groovy sound with sensual vocals and great harmonization. That's why they were so loved by Black community, and also being quickly canceled when they offended their core fan base. Visually, I don't think they are as strong and consistent. They are most known for being the grown adults of the 5th gen who can do sexy choreography and fashion. But other than that, the concept fluctuated and flipped every time, thus inconsistency. Lyrically, they are the femme fatale and are very confident and attractive in love. Not new and not strong, but at least consistent. With 2 out of 3, they are in the 3rd tier for me. I don't have to talk much about Baby Monster because they are a mini version of Blackpink. In the sense their three components are there, and very similar to Blackpink, if not too similar. However, I don't think they have really created a strong lane for themselves the same way Blackpink did to detach themselves from 21. Regardless, that brand is strong and consistent enough to harness a strong fan base to support them and make them overall the most commercially successful group of the 5th gen. Like when Blackpink is on hiatus, other 5th gen is mostly doing cute and chasing Y 2K concept, Baby Monster still being stuck in that 2010s. EDM and hip-hop sound and old-school concept is a unique enough position. But that's the only flower I could give them and what saved them from the bottom tier because their entire brand is so recycled, and it seems like YG doesn't even try anymore. While artistically, I like Mio way much better than Baby Monster. Branding-wise, they are kinda on the same level. Sonically, they only have 6 official tracks in their debut EP, but the cohesion is really weak. It's not necessarily about genres. The elements of pop, funk, rap, and EDM are scattered, but they are not complementing each other to build a solid Mio's identity. Like, why are we jumping from an upbeat EDM pop title track to an alt-pop like Toxic and then to Brazilian funk and Hands Up? In addition, their pop sound is still too generic and formulaic without a substantial Mio's signature execution. Their visuals in the MVs are also affected by it, but I will cut them some slack. They compensate it with the cat-themed elements as an expansion from their names, such as their trailer, the album cover, the choreography. Their fashion is also very sporty and energetic, but also posh. The strongest component must be their lyrical identity. With eyes wide open, they explore the theme of realizing oneself, defying expectations, and following dreams as young girls in society. With merely 2 out of 3, and they are still a rookie, they are in the 4th tier. So that's it for today. So, looking at both diagrams right now, it is clear that having a consistent brand does not equal to having a strong brand, and vice versa. Having a strong brand does not always need to have all 3 sonic, visual, and lyrical brands. The first-tier groups have a once-in-a-lifetime brand that achieves greatness and have a very cult and loyal following fan base. The second-tier groups also understand their core values really well and rarely strays away from their identity. They also gained a dedicated fan base, but may not have that much influence to be really on top. The third tier is about inconsistent excellence. They can miss, but when they hit high. The fourth tier has potential, but they either completely abandoned it or never really properly explore. The final tier speaks for itself. I actually wanted to make it for more rookie groups, like Hearts 2 Hearts, Bad Villain, Cat's Eye, and All Day Project, but I feel like I need to wait for at least 3 of their comeback to make a solid criticism and also for them to have time to grow their brand. So, what do you guys think? Am I ranking correctly or completely wrong? What groups should I be doing next? But for now, thank you, goodbye, and see you in the next video.